everyone, and welcome back to my Lawn Bowls for Fun channel. I've had a question from one of my followers about date stamps on bowls, so I'm going to now try and run through that quickly with you. It's fairly straightforward, it won't take too long, but it is worth going through. As you know, every set of bowls has a date stamp, and here's a good example of what is the current date stamp. Before I talk about that though, you'll see the numbers at the bottom there, the HN348 and so on. That's the serial number of the bowl. So every set of bowls has a unique set of serial numbers, purely in case you should ever go and play someone that's got an identical set of bowls to you. It's extremely unlikely to happen, but it is possible, I suppose. So that serial number will confirm which are your bowls and which are your opponents. And then there's obviously on the left hand side, it's got size 3. Right, so as for the date stamp, that's the current date stamp, which has been used since about 2002. Every set of new bowls is stamped for 10 years. So this bowl, for example, it's got 22 on there, would have been manufactured in 2013. So if you count 10 years including that first year, it's valid until 2022. Now when I say valid, the rules regarding the 10-year date stamp have been relaxed somewhat, and it's only really in national competitions and the later stages of the national competitions that really it matters. For domestic play, so anything you do at your club, indoors or outdoors, the date stamp really doesn't matter. But if you become a very good player and get through to the later stages of a national competition, you have to have bowls that are within the 10-year date stamp. And these bowls, obviously, that you're looking at now, would be valid until 2022. So if I was a top player, I could use them right the way through to that date. If I wanted to use them in a national competition, the latter stages of a national competition, after that date, I would have to have them re-stamped, which of course is totally acceptable. They're just put on, I forget what the machine's called, but it's put on a testing machine, and as long as all 4 bowls have exactly the same line and end up on the same place on the green, they're given another 10-year stamp. But as I said, for domestic competitions, club, district and even county competitions, it really doesn't matter. So that's the most current stamp. To the left you'll see a little letter A, and that means that's the manufacturer's letter. So A is a Thomas Taylor bowl, X for example would be a Drake's Pride, N would be Hensel Light, K would be Allmark, and Z would be Aero, and they're the most sort of popular makes at the moment. And then the WB is obviously just the World Bowls Limited stamp. So there we go, that's the first one. Now before 2002, and in fact starting from 1993, the stamp was this one, what's known as the bullet stamp. You'll see that it's got a big W with 2 little B's above the W, which is the World Bowls Board stamp. And still the date is underneath, so that's fairly straightforward. From 1986 to 93, there was another bullet stamp. This was the International Bowling Board stamp. But you can see the idea was the same. You still had the date at the bottom and the manufacturer to the left. Prior to that, there were 2 stamps being used in the United Kingdom, the IBB, that's the International Bowling Board stamp, and the British Isles Bowling Council stamp. They were both actually used in England at the time, and apparently the BIBC stamp was also a stamp for 15 years. But you won't see as many of those around. In fact, we've got a load of you can see the photographs I've taken here of those stamps, because we do have some as coaching bowls at our bowling club. They're bowls that people don't want to use anymore. But I think if you're going to buy a set of bowls, you probably will be buying later ones than those. You can pick up these bowls very cheaply, mind you, and they still are perfectly good to use. But they're starting to show a bit of wear and tear, as you can see. There's a few photographs here I've got of some really old bowls. Look at this one. That's really in quite a bad shape. And you wouldn't really want to bowl with something like that. It really would be not necessary. Well, I don't think anyone would want to bowl. These are really antique bowls. I don't know how old these are. They don't even have a stamp on. And you can see some of the stamps are almost illegible anyway. And that bowl's in rather bad condition. You wouldn't want to be using that on a bowling green, really, would you? So I think that's about it. It's quite straightforward. The stamps are valid for 10 years after they're made, but for domestic play, don't worry about it. In fact, most of this information I actually obtained from a website you can go to, and that's www.thesportofbowls.co.uk/bowls-date-stamp/. So I'll put that below so you can read it. But go to that website. It really just confirms everything I've just told you, and there's a couple of diagrams in there for you to look at as well. So I hope that explains what the date stamp is all about. It's quite straightforward, isn't it? So stay safe, and I'll see you again soon.